Joining me this morning is Emily Altomare from the Oil Region Alliance. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Luke. Good morning.
It's been a little while.
I know, yeah. You
Good
look
to
the
see you.
same, though, so phew.
So do you. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know
Here
about that.
we are.
Here we are.
I mean, it hasn't been that long. Couple
No, it
months.
hasn't.
And the weather hasn't really changed. Like, it's
No,
kind
it
of
hasn't.
the same outside as it was the last time we were together.
Yeah. It's funny. All these people are like, I can't stand the snow, blah, blah. Now I see some of them are complaining like, oh, we're not going to have any snow for Christmas.
Or even snow leading up to Christmas to remind us that it is, in fact, mid-December. It is coming whether we like it or not.
It's
we
been
need
cold,
to be
though.
ready. Cold, like really cold in the morning, and then the high temperature that has been forecasted does not actually feel anywhere close to like
No.
45, 50 does not feel the way it's been feeling the last few days.
Yeah.
I don't know who's setting these numbers.
And it's funny, too, because you go, oh, it's cold. But like in the springtime, come April or May,
Right.
if it's 50 degrees, you're like, get the
I don't-
shorts out.
yeah,
Short
I don't
sleeve
need a
shirt.
coat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
This
funny
feels
how
great.
how the temperatures feel so different fall into winter versus winter in the spring. But something's going wrong because these feel like just extra cold.
They do. Well, how have you been? Good?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, I've been good. And there are fun things that you can do, whether it is cold or snowy or whatever, in the oil region all the time. But there's still some special holiday stuff happening. This weekend is your weekend to get to Cooperstown for Christmas Island and their nativity and festivities. So if you've never made it out to that corner, you need to get out there. But I think otherwise, in the more metropolitan areas of the oil region, things have the organized holiday things have kind of slowed down. So this weekend, otherwise, it's kind of all about your shopping and getting those gift cards and maybe treating yourself while you're out to a nice meal, so you don't have to go home and cook and clean. So you can also go home and cook and clean for the holidays.
I'm excited because I don't know why, but this year I noticed the house has been relatively clean since Thanksgiving. And I go, why is that? Well, the kids are older, so they're
Yeah.
not just throwing their stuff.
Right.
It's not as bad. So, no, this year's been really nice.
So like that big clean and preparation you did for Thanksgiving
Correct.
is kind of
Because we-
holding steady.
Oh, yeah, because we
that's
decorate
brilliant.
everything before Thanksgiving. I know.
My tree was up this year. It had nothing to do with me, but my tree was up and decorated before Thanksgiving, and that was more because we weren't going to be home over Thanksgiving, and Josh is like, let's get the tree up now so when we come home from Thanksgiving, it'll be done. And it has been kind of nice. So as much as I've
Because
been
you've been
feeling,
able to enjoy it,
Well,
right?
yes. And as much and I leave my tree up longer into the new year than anybody else because I like it.
Oh, how long?
I've had it up through the beginning of February before,
Wow.
which is when my birthday is. But it's so pretty. It's nice to have that extra source of light and color during the darkest. And then like once the fun is gone, you still have the tree up, so it's still pretty.
See,
And I procrastinate
I
hard.
am all in on Christmas. All in, right? Really, Halloween. I mean, we decorate for Halloween like end of August. So from that point to first of the year, I'm all in on everything, right? But then we get to that first weekend in January, and it's like, okay, it's a new year.
Gone.
Time for a change. Time for new beginnings. All that stuff, and
That's when you see Luke out
Pack
on
it
his
up.
porch just chucking
Get it
things.
out. No, but that is nice. Then there is the 12 days of Christmas, which actually should extend into January. So,
There you go.
but no,
Lasts
it's
longer.
nice. We were talking, and we have been talking about as a kid. When you got that you asked for an item like a bike or a ball glove or something, and you'd get it in at Christmas,
Right.
and you look out the window and there's 6 inches of snow, and you're like, I can't use it for 4 months. But you get a sled or something like that,
Right.
skis.
But then you also don't get any snow and you still can't use it. So
Right.
sometimes,
But
yes.
you're absolutely correct. There's so much you can do this time of year that's so much fun that still gets you outside, and you get to see things a little differently than you do if you were to take a trail in the summer or
Yes.
you
Well,
know.
and like just the fact that you can like see back into the woods further. So you kind of like, even if there isn't snow on the ground, so you're just like seeing that like, oh, I didn't know there was a house there, or, whatever. Just like the views are different. So it's definitely worthwhile getting out there and checking it out. We had a meeting last night on outdoor recreation, and we were talking about bird watching and like the Christmas Day bird count and how many people locally get really into that, but like across the state. I don't know if you know anything about birds, Luke, but and I don't know if it's the Audubon Society or who it is that has, but there's a Christmas Day bird count, and you keep track of all the different birds you see on Christmas Day, and like
Wow.
you report it to the database, and it's this like tradition for a lot of people. I personally don't do it, but since I know about that, I start to at least pay attention and be like, I saw a crow. Like, it's exciting if you see something special. But so again, another thing that you can do.
I think I'd rather watch paint dry.
You say that now.
I'm joking.
Just wait.
I'm joking. I think.
You have held on to your inner child long enough, but pretty soon your inner child is going to be like,
I don't think it's gonna go to birds. No. But hey, listen, that's great that they do that.
Well, and again, it's just another one of those things like to get you out, and while you're out, give you something.
Oh, so they're not like sitting in their house staring out the window. Oh, okay.
It's one of those, all abilities kind of. So you could sit there with your notepad next to the window inside, nice and cozy warm, and watch the bird feeder. And then you write down dove, and then you write down whatever kind of woodpecker and blue jay and another dove and another blue jay. Trust me, people get into it. Someday you will too. We'll have this conversation in 10 years, and you'll be like, I finally get it. But that's, again, another thing to get you out in the trails and things to think about while you're out in nature. Also, if you haven't been to the drive-through light display holiday at Burgess, have you been yet this year, Luke? Okay, me too. I've driven through once, and Ticeville Renaissance was there Monday night collecting. I'll be there again tomorrow night. There's an ice carver tomorrow night, and Santa and all the special things that happen. Yeah. So, and it's also fun to just hear the people coming through who say like, oh yeah, this is like my third or fourth time, or they go 2-3 times in a row that same night. Just people who, come into town to pick up groceries. And then, well, while we're here, we got to drive through the lights, even if they did that the week before. It's nice to see people really enjoying that. Repeat customers.
Well, there's also so much to see that it's hard to take it all in just going through one time.
Yes.
And it's amazing how many lights, because you think, man, how can they grow this? But it just seems like every year they find another spot that can add something.
Yeah. So you have to go and look through like what's the new thing for this year, and just So.
And this year was neat because our middle son helped out with the setup, so he was able to say, hey, I got to do this, and so he got to see what it was like now that it's done. So
nice. Yeah. And I'm sure there are always opportunities for more volunteers to get involved with Take Pride, not only in that project, but things they do with Oil Fest and everything throughout the year in between those two big events. But we're so fortunate to have them in our community and putting that on, and welcome everyone to come out and check that out. And again, it's free. So if you're like me and you're still a little low on the holiday spirit level, that'll help raise it a little bit.
Well, we've been traveling quite a bit the last, couple weeks, and it's been really nice between here and Meadville and Conneaut Lake and Lions. I mean, so many homes have such nice decorations. And
yes.
It's wonderful to drive just slowly through a neighborhood and see what everybody's been up to.
And ooh and ah. And have you seen the place in just right outside Oil City across from the Dollar General, but up on the hill from Route 8? I've seen that, and it is quite impressive. It is a lot of lights. It's like their own little Burgess Park up there. Wow. So, that's again one of those sweet things that people have that spirit, or maybe it's a competitive spirit, whatever drives it. It's nice that they're, sharing their literal light with the world.
I smiled last night, pulled into the house, and slowly our neighborhood, so we have us who, we decorate. Our neighbors across the street decorate. But then we've been seeing other houses start to put things out. It's like, okay, cool.
They're catching up.
Yeah. So it looks good.
Well, and I live close to the Union Street dental office. Speaking of other people who have their own little Burgess Park displays. So they actually open up their alley this time of year so you can drive past. And they have the little sign that says how many days till Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Which is a little anxiety producing for me as I drive home every day and see it and no, that can't be what the days are. But then when I come back after Christmas, the light is still on and it's 367 days, or whatever. And it's just oh, well, now it's kind of sad. But it is really pretty. And again,
Can you
sharing with the community.
Is that like a one-way alley, or can you? How
Yeah,
do you,
well,
how do you
yeah,
get around?
When we did it, we went from 89 and turned in and then came out at Union Street Dental
Oh, okay.
and came back around.
Gotcha.
But I think it maybe just depends who else is ahead of you and what direction
They're
in.
Okay.
And, you know, you could kind of pass a car in there depending. Like, you wouldn't put two Suburbans in there necessarily, but you can work that out.
Okay. Well, yeah, something to check out.
For sure.
Cool.
Yeah, and even walking in town this time of year is nice in the evenings when people have their lights on and get to see that. I'm always a big fan of walking in town anytime, and we've talked about this before. You see things that you don't see driving, obviously, like little things on the sidewalk or people's gardens or all the amazing architecture, people's fences and gates and door knockers. There's just so many little details because we live in such a wonderfully historic community to see, and it's good to take time to really absorb them. Oh, and the other thing too, Titusville's Christmas tree in Founders Park. I got to talk with City Manager Neil this week and tell him how cute the tree is and how nice it is to have something big and bright right there in downtown. Something outside of Shady Park, which also looks amazing with all of its trees.
Oh, yeah.
But, just like spreading that cheer, more color and joy.
Sure. Or you can watch birds.
You can watch birds.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to watch birds?
Well,
Besides Luke.
So this has been like a really fast year.
Yes.
Okay, so
So
for you
fast.
as well. When you look back at 2023, how would you describe it?
Other than fast?
Other than fast.
Yeah, I mean, and the speed of it really is kind of astounding. And actually, not to be a total bummer on your lovely Happy Morning show, 23 was a hard year. There was a lot of personal loss of people.
Yeah.
Several people passed away. So it's weird kind of having those COVID times where we thought oh, this is really hard and challenging, but we had all of that good momentum of, everyone's banding together and we're helping one another out. And, there was a real positive kind of, I don't know, positivity in the face of adversity kind of feeling. And I don't know if maybe some of that has just worn off, those memes of saying I'm tired of living through a historical event, so I don't know if that's part of it, but then, yeah, so knowing several families who've been affected by loss has been hard. But then at the same time, when you look at it on a professional level, things that are happening with the Oil Region Alliance, specifically to me, since that's what I'm, closestly involved with, we got a lot done. And there's also, and I feel this way every year, but every year it seems like more and more there are these projects on the cusp, and it's we're not quite ready to, say, yay, we did it, but the groundwork is being laid, and you can see the momentum is continuing to grow. Things with community development and enhancement and kind of changes with property or projects that are going to help the environment as well as the economy, things that we're doing in the tourism program. We have a couple projects that have been sort of on the wish list and in the back of my mind for the last 5 years, because that's how long I've been there.
Wow.
Speaking of how fast
Really?
time flies. Yeah, it was 5 years in October. So we have some of those projects, and again, they're not quite let's cut the ribbon, here we go, but they're definitely coming to fruition. So we're in the thick of getting those things done. So that's kind of fun to think about where we're going to be this time next year. Those things will be done. They'll be in use. People will be, seeing them, using them, interacting with them, or, just experiencing that progress. So that's really special and encouraging.
Yeah.
So, and in that regard, 23 has been a good year, but in other ways, it's just whew, good it was fast because it was tough.
Yeah,
So
it was.
Yeah, but again, that's why we turn the calendar page. We look forward. We get excited for the new year, and we'll see what all that might bring. And we know it'll also be fast and challenging.
Well, I'll ask you about that, but let's do this real
Okay.
quick. You're watching the Morning Drill on Stream Television and on Armstrong's Neighborhood Channel. Emily Altomare with us here this morning from the Oil Region Alliance. When you look and understand that 2023 went pretty fast, does it make it a little easier to say, okay, yeah, it's okay if we start talking about this event that's coming up in 2024 because we know it's going to be here before you know it?
And I think yes, I agree with that, but I think I tend to always.
Well, you're always like a year out anyways planning.
It's not quite, sometimes it's not quite
Well,
that bad, but yeah, we were talking about like the publication of
Yeah.
the visitor guide. So we didn't even have to make a visitor guide this year because we have the current guide was made to be for all of 23 and 24.
Mm-hmm.
So what should have saved me hours and hours of work, and it did, but there was never a time where I was sitting around the office like, I'm bored. I wish I had a big project to do because there were other big projects that we were taking on. And
You were
so
probably like, how did I get this done with all this other
yeah,
stuff?
Yeah. And last night again, when we were having this outdoor recreation meeting, like I'm telling them like in June 2024, I'm going to start really hitting you for the details of your events and activities so I can get them ready for that book or that, the magazine that comes out. And someone said, so when's your deadline? It's like, well, it's kind of like November 1st at the latest because we want that in people's hands in January 2025, which is only a month or a year and like less than a month, a year and 2 weeks away. So yeah,
Wow.
like you have to start early and plan ahead. Unfortunately, we're in a good pattern of like kind of the cycle and what things we do when, knowing that May is Historic Preservation Month. So in March, we'll be looking for nominees and be ready to celebrate them in May. And same thing with May having National Travel and Tourism Week. So that's when we really hope to start getting the nominations for our tourism awards that we can celebrate, voting in the summer and announce those winners like into the fall.
Oh, wow.
There's that just kind of that cyclical nature of what we do, the things that we do over and over again. And then you just pepper in these new projects and new ideas and things that you want to also add to the very busy list.
Well, I found just talking with folks, and I think some chambers have done this. Others are, it just depends. But getting the event out there a year in advance or during the time of the current event, because people want to know, okay, this is great. I want to do this. Are you doing this next year? When is it? Mm-hmm. And, to say, well, we're going to announce it in, 8 months or whatever. I think people have had a lot of success saying it's going to be the same time next year. Or, it's already on the calendar.
Right. We've been doing that with Farm to Fork. It's the third Saturday of September. So we just leave it at
Boom.
that. We've been
Done.
consistent with that. And, it's worked really well. I mean, every once in a while, like there's a year where we were out of town for a wedding, but I think that's the only one I've missed out of 6, 7, or 8, however many it's been. So yeah, I agree with that too, that having some consistency helps a lot with just, being able to tell people like, come back next year.
Yeah. During the event, you could make that announcement. Hey, next
Right.
year, this is the date for this.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
And like the 4th of July festivities, we know when those are going to
Right.
be. Even the ones that aren't on the 4th of July, we know they're the 3rd, Jolly July 3rd in Oil City, or the things that, the fireworks spectacular in Cranberry on July 2nd. So it doesn't matter what day of the week it is, that's just when it is. So again, makes it easier to plan around and know like, here's where we're going to be. But it's also nice to have those things that kind of pop up through the year,
Sure.
move around a little bit, because then sometimes you do gain, people who wouldn't normally be able to go or participate. So
some big events in 2024. Monte Carlo night is back.
yes, and tickets are on sale now and going fast. We're already at about 50% sold. So if
Really?
you're planning to join us for that event, get that on your calendar. Luke, we'd love to have you there. Not just because you'd be an easy mark
Sucker,
to gamble
yeah.
away your money. No, but we had a great time last year at Wildcat Mansion. It was a lot of fun. It's a great excuse to, get dressed up and kind of pretend you're in a James Bond movie. And I was hoping you were going to break right into your James Bond, like your Sean Connery James Bond.
I was going to do something
please.
like The Rock, but not James Bondish. Yeah.
That would also have been a lot of fun. All right, we'll work on that for the 3rd hour of the morning drama.
That's right.
That doesn't
Come
air
back.
anywhere.
The sequel to The Rock. Rock, paper, scissors.
Thank you. Well done, sir.
Monte Carlo night, February 24th, Saturday night.
Yes.
Wildcat Mansion. So if you've always thought, boy, that'd be really cool to see what's inside, what that looks like inside. Well,
This is your opportunity.
yeah.
And it is definitely something you need to see. It's a lot of fun, just neat, and still evolving. So even if you were there last year or you've been there for another event, come back for this one.
Like historic preservation awards, will that be done in 2024?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that
That's
in May.
also very fascinating to see what folks are working on project-wise.
So if somebody was like on the fence about, do I want to take on this project? If you take it on and get it all done between January and May, and actually, or if you did something in the last 4 years and 6 months or something, because you can go back, I think, 5 years. So it doesn't have to be something that you just completed. But those projects, will be available to be nominated. And again, there's no like cash and prizes, but we recognize those efforts. And again, that encourages others in our community to take up the mantle of historic preservation and do things around their own home and the community as well.
Well, and there's such fascination with it, and so many people come out to the event and just see what's being done. And it actually is very inspiring because you can look at that and go, okay, that gives me some ideas for maybe something I can do at my house or my place of business or whatever it is.
Right, and we have in the last couple of years had a workshop around that same time. So like Abby Popescu did a plaster workshop last year. Jen has done a wood window repair workshop. We did cemetery cleanup workshops. So there's often some type of like educational component that would help people take on maybe a smaller project or see where they can make some smaller improvements in their own homes and communities.
Emily, have a great Christmas. Happy New Year to you.
Christmas to you too, Luke.
Enjoy
Happy
the holidays.
New Year.
Yeah.
All right, you too. I'll see you back here in January.
Sounds good. Looking forward
All
to
right,
it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, you still have your tree up.
Yeah, I will still have my tree up.